Okay, so it's not like any really big news or anything. It still is kind of just, it's like kind of just waiting for the next thing, the next phase to start, because that's when the real work is really going to start going. Because right now, so many people don't even know to be working on themselves. Stella. She's not 100%, but she's more back to her bitchy self because she had me up all night. Went to bed like 9:30, 11:30 up, 1:30 up, 4:15 up, 5:45 up. It's like, just whining and crying, pacing around the house. And she's still not completely, she's so cute. She's just so cute. I feel so hopeful about the med beds, and then plus I'm going to put crystals. I'm going to put 4 under her bed. My daughter had ordered her this new bed. It's an orthopedic fancy bed from a mattress store. It is so freaking huge. It takes up half my living room. It's so huge. But anyways, I'm going to put 4 crystals, because you're supposed to put the crystals in the 4 points of your bed. You're supposed to do them around like a grid, because they will do the energy to each other. And so everything in that energy field will get the benefit of the energy that's circulating. So anyways, I'm going to put 4 under her bed. I'm even going to put 1 around her neck. She's going to wear it all the time. And I'm going to put 4 under my bed. I sent them all to my family, like, to show how much the store is selling them for, and to show all the ones I've made for everybody. And, seeing the price of how much they sell in the store, I think people get, like, this isn't like a little joke crystal necklace. Like, this is, expensive necklace. So, hopefully everybody's going to wear them. But I decided I'm going to drive when I leave Newport. I'm going to drive straight to Spokane and take everybody their crystals, because everybody's there. I would like to be able to do them for all my siblings too, and all their kids, but it gets to be, especially because none of them even take it seriously. I don't think that they would even get the significance of wearing them. And it's so crazy too, is how many people believe in science and all that stuff, but then they don't really understand, like, this is technology that has been hidden from us because, they're making money off of us. So they're not going to give us, the full spectrum. So they're going to keep us limited and keep us like in the dark ages so that they can control us. I see so many now. So many people now understanding, like, this is crimes against humanity. Everything should be free to us. We're born here. Just like the animals. Can you go and charge the animals? Oh, you can't have that lake. Oh, no drinking from that one. And they've destroyed a lot of the nature's homes and stuff. They've just plowed right through. And there's just a big difference in living in balance, in sync with nature, and being a part of it rather than trying to control it. And they want to control it and sell it to us. But, seems that everybody's starting to catch on. Like, how do you turn around and sell me water? How do you turn around and sell me land? You don't own this land. So, it takes all of us to rationally wrap our heads around that. And, to say, hey, no, that's not okay. And I saw one thing where somebody was talking about the DNA thing, and that whole thing was a big ploy just to get people's their code, which I believe it is, because then they know where certain people are. They know all of this stuff, and they can follow certain coding and where it is there a lot there. She even said that's how they decide, because they can't tell you, like, you're 10% Asian, you're 20, your DNA wouldn't show that. That they use it as a generalization, Well, you are in a place where primarily 20% of the people are Asian, so you have that in you. Like, it was very much about something different than what they were showing. But, you know, I mean, that was, I think, clear to a lot of people. This is just a way to get people to send in their DNA. And then are they using these people's and growing cells and clones in labs, like, and testing on them? Like, that's what these people do. That is the world that we live in, is way different science than what we are told or shown, you know, because we are the lab rats. We are the human guinea pigs. I know what I was thinking about yesterday too is, you remember, like, it seemed like it was like 10 years ago, where Lyme disease, oh my God, Lyme disease is so horrible. We've got all these people having it. These ticks are out of control. Everyone's getting bit by these ticks and they're dying of Lyme disease. I was thinking, well, that's kind of weird. Like, what happened to all those ticks? Where'd they go? Was that just part of the science experiment? Like, was that just a bunch of human guinea pigs? Let's see what happens if we do this. Let's see what happens if we do that. Because that's what they're always doing. And I think that they're doing that right now with a whole bunch of different things. Like, oh, let's see what happens with this and that. And, you know, I had seen there's this one guy, and he's always sharing footage of outside the skies and the towers and stuff like that. So he went and he was showing all of this footage of this parking lot. And all of these, they had put in those purple lights, which they're putting these purple lights in all over the place. And there's a reason why they're putting them in. And, you know, there's a lot of speculation of there's something inside of us that they can track. They can see with these purple lights. So that this guy was filming this parking lot, and every tree that was facing the purple lights or right under the purple lights, wherever the purple lights were touching, the tree was dying. So there's so much. I mean, the mix with these, whatever it is with these lights, with the chemicals, with the frequency, and all of it put together is deadly. You know, it's deadly to our avatar, our state of being. You know, if you think about too, like, you're a hologram, you're birthed into this situation. So it's not just like turn on the TV and there, you know, or turn on the screen and there's a hologram. Like, there's a whole thing to being birthed into a reality so you can experience it. But so if you think of yourself as a projection into that reality, and then frequency would be what holds you together. It's what holds it all together, because it's just atoms and, you know, it's just color and frequency, and it creates these atoms that puts together this concept of a person. And so if you think about that as being a screen, a projection, or whatever, then you can see how the frequency would interfere, you know, and throw in a bunch of chemicals. Like, what would happen to a computer if you, you know, dump some baking soda on it, and then you know, changed, if you put water in it or any of the stuff that would create it to crash, you know. That's the same thing that is happening with all of us. Like, we are all projected into this as a living creation, but then they interfere with it because they are trying to, I think that they're kind of scared, like, and they're trying to understand what life is and stuff, but they don't go inside. They don't go in that spiritual route. They go into this, like, control ego route. Like, they are in stiff competition what they see as creation. You know, that's why they're always trying to mess with it. That's what all these colliders are for. And, you know, I've seen more stuff too about that one in South Dakota or whatever, and the sky's turning green when that one happen. And then, oh, that one woman, remember how she said that there was 3 entities that came through, and these 3 entities were trying to spread into a lot of different people, especially kids and stuff. Well, later that day, there was an article published that there was 3 new particles that they had never seen before that now have been found at CERN. So she was showing that, and she's like, oh my gosh, look at this. I said 3, and then here they are saying there's 3 the same day. So, you know, there's something to everything that is going on. And it is, you know, them trying to create, like, how they think the creation of life. Like, they think that they can somehow create it, or confuse it, or control it, or something. And, you know, they've had all this control over us without us even knowing it. And we've all been controlled. And so they think that they're pretty spectacular and powerful. And then anybody who gets into their inner circle, you know, you have to go along with the program, or, you know, it's just, you know, red tie for you, red tie for you. Like, go along with them or you don't exist. You know, that's how they look at it. And so, you know, there's all that stuff that is going on that has all to do with them trying to control this world, which I think is doing something with these glitches in reality. And, you know, it's hard to know, like, is it each of us coming into this common state of reality, you know, where we understand that we are being controlled by an entity, a beast? Or is it that, and that we are what fractures this reality because we all have different memories? Or is it, you know, we all are different timelines and all these timelines are merging? Is it that they are actually confusing reality with time and space manipulation that is, you know, like crossing these timelines that are changing reality? Like, I don't know. Like, it could be so many different possibilities of what's actually going on, of how this Mandela effect is occurring. But they definitely, you know, they think they are able to create life like God or whatever. So I think that, you know, their DNA, I'm sure they've got DNA that is growing in labs. There was a book, and I know I talked about this book before. It was my last husband, and when he was in school, he was reading it because he had gone back to school as an adult. So while we were married, he was back in school, and he was reading this book in his class, and it really freaked him out. And then he wanted to watch the movie, and so we were watching the movie, and it was really, really weird. But, and I'm sure this is true, but it was this whole, like, school of people who were actually clones, but they had no idea they were clones. They were just in this school, like, being taught. But then if their person needed a part, they would have to go to a center, and the parts would be removed from the clone. And the rich people kept the clones on purpose so that they could part them out. But the clones were real. It reminds me so much of Westworld too, where, you know, it's consciousness beginning to come aware of itself and saying, like, hey, I'm real. I'm a real person here, like Pinocchio. I'm a real boy, you know, and wanting to understand and, you know, like, observe itself, to value itself. And, you know, so these clones were realizing what was going on, and some were trying to escape and stuff. It was really a really sad story. It's a book and a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but you could probably kind of look up. And I think that was another movie too that I saw that it had the same concept of this clone thing, which I'm sure that that is real. I'm sure that they have. I mean, when you go down any rabbit holes about clones, there's creepy stuff. And I'm sure it's real. That everything that we can imagine is real. I watched a movie, just this random movie yesterday that came on, which right now, oh my gosh, my account is so shadow banned. It's weird. It's so weird when, you have videos that just no views. And, when you go from having, hundreds in a couple hours, and then all of a sudden there's just none. And I still am suspicious of this whole Instagram hacker guy, that now he has a hold of my account and he's trying to get me to come to him and, oh, it's being so interfered with right now, when it's really him doing it. I just feel like that's the world we live in. That's the kind of people, the greed and the disrespect of others. I can't do anything about it, whether it's some hacker or it's actually TikTok or YouTube or whoever is doing it. I don't have any control. It's very frustrating. So frustrating, And I see so many people. I mean, there's so many people losing accounts, and there's people who I used to see all the time and I don't see them anymore. And I'm sure their accounts are just wiped out, because that's, what they do. And I don't know how much longer it can just go on. It feels like it just goes on and on and on and on. This weekend's supposed to be another new moon. It's supposed to be super significant, and I'm sure all of these right now, I don't think you can go on the internet right now without seeing the hunted big face all over the place. Oh my God, he's everywhere, and he's always like so stoned. He's always just like what in the hell? I guess his iPhone is leaked or something, and he just is nonstop filming himself. He'll just film himself just standing, like he's standing out on a beach with some woman who's some weird things going on with this woman, and he's like he wants to film his reaction to life all the time or something. It's very strange. But I guess, if you're just on crack all the time, like, it makes sense. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and film myself doing every strange thing possible. But those are everywhere. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how many times I've seen these things. How there's a song even. A really good rap song this guy did. It is hilarious. And it is, I can't remember the line, but it is so funny. Somehow, like, you call your dad I don't even know. It is really funny. So, probably run across that because somebody has put this song with these videos of the hunted one, and out just in La La Land all over the place. And then they keep putting his dad's like different interviews and stuff, like making this whole little video with this song. It's really funny. And it's funny too, because like, Joe's being confronted at interviews and stuff, and he just is. But it's all a ploy. Yesterday, my mom was telling me some stuff, like, she goes, oh, I forgot to tell you. And she watches Fox, so, which I think still tells more than CNN. Like, CNN doesn't tell shit. It's just completely to lead people in the opposite direction of where they need to go. Fox is owned by the same kind of people. I think, and it's just so hard to know, like, some of these people who seem like they're saying the truth, are they still being restricted? I don't know. So, but there was a bunch of stuff that was going on. I can't even remember, like, one of the things is, I guess, Joe just sent $100 billion more to the Crane of View so that they can pay their healthcare workers. Oh, I saw a big committee meeting thing too, where they're going to stop letting, the pilots can't pass physicals right now. There's very limited, because they were all forced, if they wanted to stay working, and now they've got health conditions that are restricting them from being able to. So we got a big problem there, but all these problems we could see coming. I just saw somebody else sharing that they were at the grocery store in a tub of cheap ass margarine, like crock of the butter. Or I remember, because when I grew up on margarine. Didn't even taste butter until I was, I think, like 20 years old. I had no idea. I grew up on Miracle Whip and margarine. I'm telling you, my mom she was young, and she took that astronaut food serious, and she, definitely, we had ourselves some minute rice quite a bit. So anyhow, but that was how they were trying to get people to stop cooking for themselves, start using these easy dinners. Like, you got it easy. You got kids, you don't have time for that. Just take our easy meals, and we'll do the work for you. It's just full of poison, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. But so she was, what was I going to say? Oh, and Tang too. But anyways, this girl at the grocery store, she was showing this crock of butter. I can't remember what it's called, but I know I've eaten it a million times. And it's, it's just like, I don't know, I don't even think it's lard. I think it's mostly chemical fat. But it's not good for you. Anyways, the girl was showing it's $8 at her grocery store. And so she's the one who is right now homeless. She's got $6,000 to move in, and she lives in Florida, but nobody will let her because her credit score is too small. And so she's living in a hotel right now, and it's taking all of her money and then going to the store. And I think, and this is my personal opinion, but I think that the food thing we're already in that crisis. I already know people whose fridges and cabinets are empty because they can't afford gas to get to work, to pay the rest of their bills, and food. And that's why I keep saying, people have got to realize that there is food. There's food banks in every city, and everybody needs to be going to them and getting what food that they can. And especially at the food banks, they've got dried beans and dried rice and stuff, because people are going to need some of that stuff. I mean, we were already in the food crisis. I said that, like, during the storms here in the winter. I was like, I'm already using my emergency food when you can't get out and stuff. That's the point of having it, I think. Not a huge stock, like forever we're going to have to live off of this food. It's just during a transitional stage. It's just during this time while we're under attack to have some food. So, I have this food. I already sent a box to one person, and I'm going to send some more, because it is, this is the crisis, and we do have to get through this part. But then everything is going to start going better once we get through this hard part. The hard part just gets stretched out and stretched out. But the absurdity behind the stuff that I keep hearing, like, oh, we're going to send $100 billion. We've got people starving. They're sending all our gas to China, and they're just sending all of our resources somewhere else while people are here starving and homeless. I mean, every city, the homeless amount is growing and growing and growing. And it isn't because everyone's on drugs. It's because people cannot survive. They don't have enough money. They're not making it. And, it's quite clear why. And even if the news wants to say something different, any of us paying attention can see what's going on. So, we are in the crisis. This is the crisis. This is the part that is supposed to be waking people up. The stuff that my mom was telling me, it was just like, oh my God, it's so absurd. Everything is so absurd. It's the absurdity that is supposed to be waking people up. Even though I keep saying, it's so slow. It does get more people to pay attention, but it's still so slow. I still say there's going to be a significant thing that's going to happen, something big that is going to happen. It will be like a giant slap and then it will go the other direction. So something, this is, I think, this is kind of the slow drip. It's to just keep putting the information out there, and just it goes through us energetically. And so they're trying to do that, I think, to lift our awareness. So when the giant slap occurs, that it's not going to be as devastating as it would have been if we were all just oblivious, we're all just asleep, we're all just in there trying to make dinner and get to work and all of that shit, which so many people are still trapped in that scenario. But if we were all still trapped in it and the giant slap occurred and it just abruptly woke us all up, it would be utter chaos. So, as slow as it goes and as tedious and as horrible as it is, we just have to really realize there is a reason for it to go this way. And I know there's a lot of people who have given up on the letter of the alphabet and all of that stuff. And I see that as, I definitely believe that there is two sanctions. There's a dark and there's a light. I have said before, I believe that there was light in every single segment of our society. The politics, there was some, I think it was a lot harder in politics to stay true to yourself, because I heard it's 98% of the politicians are going to be red-tide. So I think that politicians, there became a very dark place, which, if you came in of the light and you're surrounded by dark, a lot of people were trapped, didn't know what to do. Like, if you're going to a party and you're seeing judges and the people running this world doing this dark stuff, like, what are you going to do? Who are you going to go to? Who are you going to tell? You can't tell the media, that's covered. You can't tell, when we got whistleblowers all over the place in hiding. Like, their world was very contained and very controlled. And so you have, what was I saying? So you have the people who, like in Hollywood, the sports, the medical. Like, I've seen a lot more people now on my post on TikTok, medical people who agree with what I'm saying, and it is, all of those had some light and some dark. So there has been this battle. It was kind of like a losing battle for a long time. The dark kept winning because they had all the power, but there was light in the military and stuff. So that light, which I think has been, I totally believe all of that stuff about this plan started a long time ago, and they had it's a huge thing to dismantle the evil, because it was so intrinsically compounded into our everyday life. Like, it had become our lives, and so many people bought into the dark. So many people commit crimes and do hateful things to people because they think nobody's watching, they can get away with it. It is, your soul can't get away from anything. Your soul is always there. Your soul's always watching you. And not only just your soul, all your ancestors. Like, you don't get away with anything, like, no matter what people think. So I do think that there was always a group of light that wanted to change, was going to battle with the dark. And, it's all cosmic. Like, it is the hand of God, because it is the changing of the ages. So it was all about timing, and how timing had to define itself in this changing of how things were going to go. So, the dark had reign for a long time. And it's just so weird how people just don't get, like, we have been living in hell. This is ascending out of hell. And we have light all around us, handing us a hand to help us, showing us a path to get us out of it. But we have to recognize what the place is. So, you know, I do believe that there was always light out there. I do believe it started coming together, forming, you know, it's kind of like forming a wall of light, forming a group of, you know, the light got bigger when they came together. So more and more light. I believe that that letter was a group of people who were meant to wake us up, to say, hey, look into this. Oh, you might want to look a little deeper in this. Oh, pay attention to this. Because that's all it ever was just always like, you know, think about this, look at this. You might want to look up at this. And, you know, people did. And people were looking it up. And it's just so weird, you know, how mainstream media, of course, goes in and says, oh, no, that's a cult. They're a bunch of crazy people. It's like, how are we a bunch of crazy people? It was just a person who said, hey, go look this up, go look that up. And everything that they said go look up was real. And so how is that not, you know, makes no sense. But it's all just to, they use keywords to control people's minds, and conspiracy theorist and cult. And, you know, those are words that people, just like mentally ill, like you start saying, hey, the TV talks to you, oh, music talks to you, hey, there's always people talking in my head, you know, suddenly you need medication, you need to be evaluated in a mental institute, you know. That's how people understand this world, because they have been taught to understand it that way. So I do think that there is a ton of light that is coming in. I do think that there is light working behind the scenes. And, you know, I think that the job is super huge, what is going on. But it all has to do with the awakening. It all has to do with us awakening to the truth and elevating ourselves through healing and awareness. So, you know, it's up to each of us to do the work. But we all had to see what the truth was behind this reality. And so, you know, it was always going to be shown. And I do think that's why it has been such a slow thing, because really, like, when you go back, you think about it, like when we started hearing about makeup, and there was animals being abused and killed to make makeup, and the abuse in the corporate farms of what they were doing to the food and what they were feeding them, and all of this stuff. Like, we've been waking up to the truth for a long time. It's just taken a long time to put everything together. And now there's so many of us awake and talking about certain things that it is just bringing everything to the surface. So everything is in our awareness now, if we're paying attention. There's still so many people trapped in the mind trap of, I got to get to work. I got to do this. I got to get my bills paid, that they don't have that broader perspective. And the broader perspective is super important, because you need it to free yourself from the world that you thought was real, that was never real to begin with. And it's so weird, because it's so controlled, and we've all thought it was so real, but it was always artificial. It was always fake, but it was always for us. Like, this is, when you think about it on that level, and you think about how much work a soul has to do to pull itself free from a dependence into an independence, into a self-trusting perspective of its own state of being. So there's so much value in what's going on. And I know I bitch and whine about it a lot, but it feels like it's just gone on and on and on and on. And I do have my personal stuff, like the personal stuff that they tell me. And that part drags on and on and on and on too, you know, because I mean, they've shown me and shown me. So I have to continue to trust, no matter what I see with my eyes. I have to trust what they tell me in my heart and my soul, what, you know, that guidance is. But I do think that all of this slow drip is going to be beneficial when this big, slap occurs to get everybody's attention. And just think about that too, as that slap that did get everybody's attention. Everybody was talking about it. I mean, everybody was talking about the stupid Depp and Amber freaking trial. Like it's real easy to get everybody's attention with certain things. So there will be something that will get everybody's attention and everybody will be talking about it, but it won't be a good thing. It's going to be a scary thing, I think. I think it's going to be super scary, and it's going to be very traumatic, and it's going to, shock people awake, shock them into awareness of what's happening. And so all of the little dripping will have helped, because it's going to be, like I've said, I think when that energy switches, when people all of a sudden, it turns the other direction and people see everything was a lie, everything was upside down, that shift is going to be our energy. Like right now we have these CMEs coming in from the sun, but our energy, we're going to pulsate that energy out, which I think will go out and then bounce back. I really think there's something about the firmament, and that it's like our bubble will burst. Everything will burst and open us up to all of the whole new galaxy of possibilities. And yesterday I was turned on some high frequency thing. This is a high frequency one, but I turned on one and it had this like space with the colors, and it had the stars all moving, but it looked just like it was moving in water or plasma. And that is what I believe is all around us. And every star, every twinkle is an energetic source, whether it is what state of consciousness that it's in, that is dependent on each being, of what awareness it has to its own self and its abilities and levels of what it can do with its energy. And that's all based on frequency and, vibration of where you resonate, where you land as energy. So, you have some that have great abilities and can move through, interdimensional, multidimensional beings that can move through different ones and manifest into a physical form. And then, that's what we're moving into. So to me, they tell us, like we have air around us, and we think that space is like that, just goes out and it's just air, and that there's all these things out there. But I don't think it's like that at all. I think it's very different than that. I think that we are surrounded by water. I think we're in a bubble of a reality. I think that we are surrounded by water, that there's all sorts of other realities all around us, all sorts of other land mass, that we were contained and controlled. And, if you go all the way up, it's hard to know, like, how they got to control this reality like this. If it was always, like a battle between these higher beings, which I think it's kind of been like that. Like higher density beings have been more in a fight. And then, the human being was a creation by certain beings. And so they think, like we are their pet project or something. And, in other beings in other places, like there's humans kept in cages like birds. So, there's just so much more to this world than we've been told. We've been so contained. Our minds have been so contained that people can't imagine. They think, oh, that's just from the movies. Oh, that's not real. All of it's real. Everything is real. I mean, there's fairies, there's every kind of being out there. And, they can be in all shapes and sizes. And there's so much stuff now, too, of people sharing, like, historical pictures. Like, there's so many pictures I'm seeing of giants now. Just giants were, just a part of the world. And these giant doors, giant books, giant all of this. Like, there's so much that has been hidden that we've been lied to about for our history, and why we're here is the biggest thing. We're here to learn. We're here to experience. And, sometimes it seems like hard to wrap your head around, like, why would my soul choose to come to a place like this and be born into such a horrible place? But, your challenges, your soul doesn't fear a challenge. Your soul is more of an adventurer, wants to expand and adventure. And your soul, you got to remember, your soul knows there is no death. There is no end to you. This is just going in and playing parts in movies and stuff. So, it'd be kind of like, like there's a lot of places that could be really scary here in, on our planet, but we would still want to go and see it for ourselves. So it's kind of like that. Your soul still wants to come, even if it's going to be horrible and hard. There's so much expansion of yourself when you go through horrible, hard things. You grow and you expand. Your state of consciousness becomes more, fulfilled, more broader, more deeper. So there's a reason why we do it, even though it seems like there'd be no reason like we would ever want to come to someplace like this and go through what we're going through. But there is a huge expansion that happens from everything that you go through. And there's a reason why we go through the things we go through. And so, it's just something that everybody has to just resolve in their own minds. Like, oh, I came here for this. I came here for this experience. I came here on purpose. There's no accidents. I wasn't forced here. I am here because I want to grow from this experience. I want to learn about myself, who I am. When the cards are down, who am I? Do I run for the hills? Do I hide? Do I cry? Do I fight another day? Like, those are the things that you learn about yourself. And then, if you don't like how you react, then you go get born again and see, what do I do if I'm in this role? What if I did this? What if I do that? Because the whole thing is this connection that we create with our higher selves or our guides or, whoever it is you believe is talking to you. So, or leading you. So it is each of us, the development of that relationship. And like I said before, that was what they were saying was the problem with Atlantis and Lemuria, because it was too fast. They weren't really learning lessons. They were just automatically connecting to their higher selves and, expanding, being more connected to the spiritual side than they were to the physical side. But the physical side is what you come into so you can learn and experience, because it is such an expansion for your soul. So, it's good to just accept certain things and to not question, because I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in like, I would never come here. I would never pick those as my parents. I would never pick that as my problem or whatever. People they just don't understand about a soul. They're looking at everything in life from the avatar's perspective. And the avatar has a very limited perspective. It's just the avatar to go through the experience in. It's the vehicle. It isn't you. But so many people get in the experience and they get caught up in the vehicle and they think that that's all that they are. And they don't see, like, no, there's somebody who is guiding the vehicle. There's someone driving it. But you got to pay attention to who's in the driver's seat because, it's not you. And you'll get very frustrated fighting the driver. Become a backseat driver and having a fit. Why isn't it going the way I want? Go that way. We all do it. We all are like, that's not what I want. I want to go that way. I want to do this. I want to do that. But that's not always why we're here. We're here for a purpose. And the more we go in and we listen to our soul, the more we understand what our purpose is. And the more that we can just focus on, our own personal learning. And that is quite challenging when there is so much going on. So, and, we need to be paying attention because it does help us with compassion and empathy. But then we also have to recognize when it's too much for us and to pull in and take care of ourselves. And we have to take care of our physical needs, our emotional needs, our spiritual needs. Everything is up to us. And, you want to stay hooked into the system, it's detrimental for people. And some people think, oh, well, that's easy. I'll just rely on the system, rely on the doctors, rely on the drugs. And then, just up in that line yesterday, just, there's all these people who can't stand. They're all on canes. Like, a lot of these people are younger than me, much younger than me. And they can't walk. They can't stand. I can believe, like, they're giving away, those nurses were giving away glucose monitors. Freaking half the line needed a glucose monitor. Like, people have to see, like, there's a reason why diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, all the pain disorders, the what are those things called? The autoimmune diseases. And that also with the autism and all of this stuff, everything is created by these people. And, and they're always testing on us because they've always got a new pill they're coming up with. Like, I think that movie Old was very, it's crazy too how he can kind of put stuff into movies, but he puts so much disclosure into movies, like the thing with Sixth Sense, because the ghosts are really all around us. And, they aren't as scary as what in the movie I'm showing. It's not just, people die and then all of a sudden they become monsters or something. But spirits are all around us and they're all talking to us all the time. And then he had the one Signs where it had the aliens. That's all real. I mean, aliens are a part of our existence, even though they try and say that they don't exist. Then they have, but now it's like, oh, well, we do think there is some. It's like, yeah, you think? It's because you've been having meetings with them for years. And then that one with the swimming pool where it was like other reality, Old, where it shows where lab rats, that's our only value in this world to these people, is what they can experiment on us, So anyways, this is just, a lot of stuff to wake up to. But there's a point and a purpose to it all. And it all goes back to self. It all goes back to your own personal growth and where we're headed as a collective into this new age where it will be expected to be healed. People won't be able to be a part of that world unless that they have healed or are in the process of healing. Like, there's not going to be these people like these hackers and these thieves and these rapists and these abusers and stuff. Their energy would not, they can't, your frequency has to be higher. You can't be low vibration, low frequency, enjoying hurting people. You won't be able to be in that existence. You won't be able to be in that frequency. Like, I know people don't really kind of get the whole thing with the frequency and vibration and other dimensions and stuff like that. But you really can't. That's all part of this whole containment of our snow globe world that we live in with the firmament. It's contained. And I don't think we're the only contained reality. I think there's probably a lot. And, but we have to raise our vibration to leave the container. And I think this is going to be such a powerful release. I think it's going to bust the bubble. I think that the firmament is going to go, and if that is the waters coming in, I don't know. I just don't know, because it seems like we need the bubble for the air. So I don't know. There's just so much to learn and speculate about, and I think it's exciting to see what's to come. But this is a tedious journey, a tedious journey through the desert to get there. Ooh, and I'm gonna have to be driving through the desert. I'm gonna start mapping out my actual, like, I'm gonna drive this many hours to here and to here, like map it out and really get it figured out, so I can drive through the desert in either the really early hours or in the evening time, because I think in the desert it's way over 100 right now. So definitely don't want to be driving in the daytime. So I don't know, Saturday morning I may just get real early and get through the desert and then get to Newport a few hours before my appointment, and then just go out on the beach or something. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. It's just, I don't know. It's an adventure, and we'll see what happens. So anyways, I will talk to you tomorrow. I'm still, every day, I'm hopeful that something big happens, some shift occurs. Just it's the tediousness of each day after day. Just the same thing with the planes flying over. And, there is more atmosphere out there, but I did see somebody else who lives over here by me. Well, not right by me, but in this general area. And then somebody else I saw who lives in Vancouver in Canada, and they were talking about it. And both of those people were saying the same thing as me. They're about to do the fires. They're doing everything they can to burn everything up right now. And the one person was showing the whole way that they've got all of, nobody's mowing any of the dead grass next to the freeways and the forest and stuff. It's just dead grass everywhere. And they even went to go look it up, this one person. And they said they have all of these groups in painting in Seattle over graffiti. But that's about the most worthless waste of time. Seattle is just a homeless place now. It's not a city. Nobody's going there to go visit or check it out. Everything is closed down. And they even now, in a bunch of these cities, the LA, Seattle, Portland, I think there's one in New York and one in, but all of these, what are those places called? The Starbucks are closing down. And the Starbucks is saying it's because it's so dangerous now where they are. But, they are part of the creation of what's happening. They are a part of that progressive liberal agenda. I guess now there's little kids going into drag bars and watching strip shows, and I'm just so blown away that there's parents that would rather be considered progressive liberal than to consider their child's future. Like, it's very strange, like, but that's all about ego. And that's all about the stuff that they're going to have to face when things switch and go the other direction. It's going to be quite mind-bending for some people who think that they are so, doing the right thing, and all of a sudden they're going to be faced with themselves, and they're going to see that it was all about them. It was all about their ego, and it's a lot to face. So anyways, there could be fires by where I'm at. It could do it soon. They definitely seem like they're trying to dry everything out. And then they just come in with those fucking drones, just shooting flames and start a fire anywhere. I guess yesterday my neighbor freaked out because she was like, "Did you hear that?" And one of the branches up in one of the dead trees, a huge branch, came flying down. She said it was so loud, it crashed, it broke things, it crashed, broke lights, all sorts of stuff. She said it was so scary. And she has little kids. I'd be sure teaching my kids, like, you better be paying attention. If you're outside and you hear a sound, it's like, run for cover, because the stuff is crashing down. I've had so many big branches crash down, and it is loud. It is scary. And I don't know that Stella would know, to go or run or anything, So I was glad it didn't happen in mine. She definitely freaked out, but I'd for sure be teaching my kids. And, another thing too is, all these kids that are all on these trampolines that I think they're giving themselves shaken baby syndrome. It's weird, but, this world, they're trying to create idiocracy. I mean, you think about the football players getting brain damage, getting knocked down all the time, but let's just put a bunch of kids developing brains out on trampolines and bounce their brains to death. That makes sense. And so I had said that one day on a TikTok, and people were like, well, because I was like, back when I was a kid, we made forts and stuff, we made things up. Now they just have kids out bouncing on these fucking things, breaking their brains. And I'm like, oh, well, there's no money for that anymore, and stuff is so expensive. But, my whole woodshed I made out of pallets and scrap wood that I got out of the garbage wood pile at the construction site. And before we put the tarp, we tarped the walls to keep the wood dry. But before we did that, it was the coolest looking fort. Kids, you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of wood. Just go out and find pallets, and then, let your kids start being innovative and creating, because that sparks something inside of them. This jumbling their brains to death and then putting them on a device. It's just like, I don't know. So anyways, it's for each person to discover those things for themselves. And so, I don't know, we'll just keep going, waiting for people to wake up and go through all of this traumatic stuff. But it definitely seems like things are picking up speed, and more horrible things are going on every day, more absurd bullshit. Because all the absurd bullshit is absurd for a reason. It's absurd so people go like, oh my God, how weird. Because that's going to get them to question something. That's going to get them to wake up. So that's why shit is absurd. My mom, she just keeps singing like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going on. And it's like, no, Mom, it's just to wake people up. It has to be absurd. And I think it's really embarrassing for some of these people for how absurd things are, that it still hasn't pried into their brain. That's going to be a real tough one on their ego when they realize what the hell was going on. And they are still, the people that are the most locked in are going to have a really hard time. The people who have been playing the game are going to have the hardest time of what's to come. And there's a lot of people in a lot of different areas that are locked very much into the mind trap. So anyways, I will talk to you later. Let's just all hope that we have big changes this week. So talk to you later. Bye.